here's the thing. When you think of a task that you're about to do, what I want you to do is think about what's the impact of you doing this for the long term. When you hand it off and you say, you know what, this is yours, you're responsible for, this is your arena, you own it. They're either gonna really step up and own it and do a great job, or you're gonna find out that they don't have the capability to do that. So I think it's constantly checking in with what you're doing and being truly honest and say, are you the one that needs to do this? Do you really need to oversee that? Do you really need to see that email that's going out? What's the one thing that can elevate your business the fastest? Well, it's leadership. We're going to talk about leadership, how to grab it, how to own it, and how to use it to scale. Right here, right now, on the Scale or Fail Show. Welcome to the Scale or Fail Show. I am your host, Allison Maslan. I am a serial entrepreneur, your business growth mentor. I'm the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network. And we are all things scaling, and we are here to make the road to that next level in your business, in your life, a lot easier. And I love this show. For the last decade, I've been able to interview some amazing people that have shared their triumph, their breakthroughs, their secrets. And we're doing something a little bit different for the recent shows. If you've been tuning in, we are really diving into my Scale It method. So this is our proprietary method that we utilize with our high-end clients in Pinnacle Global Network to help them scale their company. So each scale in the Scale It method is an acronym. So S is the strategic vision. C is scale. Oh my God. C is scale. So let's start over. All right. S is strategic vision. C is cash flow. A is alliance of the team. L is leadership. And E is execution. So today we're going to do a show around the L, which is leadership. But we're turning the tables, and I'm going to have my dear friend and also high-level mentor that works with me in our company, Pinnacle Global Network, is going to join us, and he's going to interview me so that I can share with you some amazing leadership secrets that I have learned along the way of almost 40 years in business. So let me introduce Phil. Phil Black has committed his life to helping high-level business owners overcome their biggest mental blocks and unlock their full potential. So talk about leadership. Phil is your guy, seriously. Since starting his first company at age 18, which he sold to pursue his college career, Phil has guided business leaders of all kinds to greater performance levels. He's trained more than 4,000 individuals and Fortune 1,000 management teams in leadership and strategic coaching. He has worked with companies like Intel, Sprint, Qualcomm, AT&T, you name it. This guy has done it, and he's been working with me. I don't know. I lost count how many years. I think 4 years, 5 years, and our clients are over the moon about Phil. So let me bring to this interview, Phil Black. Phil.
Allison, hi. How are you?
Hi. Well, what are you up to?
I was just catching up on some amazing reading, and I thought I had a couple more minutes. Can you believe this? I was just reading about Richard Branson, and you've got a cool story that maybe we can actually get into, speaking about leadership.
Yeah, wow. That's so random, because we're actually talking about the Scale It.
So random that I'd be reading your book.
Oh my gosh, there's just no mistakes, no coincidence.
No accidents. No coincidence to this. And now I'm talking to you, and I actually get 30 minutes or more of your time right now.
Yes. So excited. So thank you for being here. How many years have you been working together now?
A lot. Quite a bit, between many years, and probably right in between 4 and 5 years.
Yeah.
And which it's I'm just honored. And one of the things that you knew when we first started, that integrity is a huge cornerstone to not just your business, but my business. And I remember coming in saying, let's see if you're the real deal. And Allison, I got to say, you're the real deal. 4.5 years later, I wouldn't be here if if I actually didn't believe what was in here, along with the culture.
I'm the one that's honored. I'm the one that's honored. Well, listen, thank you for interviewing me today on my show. So I'm honored that you're going to be asking me these questions, and I'm really excited to share about leadership with all of our listeners today.
Absolutely. And this is going to be real exciting because there may be a couple other questions that, I'll add in about, maybe other people haven't asked or don't know about you in regards to your leadership. But,
okay.
Since we're talking about the Scale It method, and really working with the CEOs, I'm curious. It's for you, it's like, how does the CEO role as a leader change when we're scaling? When we're going from just the regular day-to-day to where we make a commitment to scale. What's the difference in the role?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, Phil, where it's like, before you have kids, and everyone starts giving you advice and telling you how it's going to be, and you're like, yeah. And then you get there and you're like, holy cow, like it wouldn't have mattered what you said. Like I had to live it, So when you start out running your business, you've got your hands in every area of the business. Understandable. You don't have really the team to help you as you begin to grow. But the CEO really has to shift into that role of visionary. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more, so that you're really making those bigger picture decisions rather than running the errands and doing the tasks and all of those things that you can have your team do. But to really shift into that role of CEO, that means that you actually have to let go. So there's quite a bit of change that has to happen. And I'll just tell you personally, it's not easy. It's such a habit of staying at that level. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but it really is, you've got to shift into being the leader and leading the team and having higher level of communication, higher level of vision. And in the earlier days in your business, I don't even know that you actually have that yet, so you're and making that shift is just critical for the growth.
Gosh, so true. I love how you also use the analogy of being a parent. That it's like, no idea. I love seeing young couples that are about to have their first child, and you can see people who've been around, like the CEOs say, going, just hold on. And one of my mentors once said this, is like, your personal development, your emotional intelligence will grow the moment you have a child. And I also believe that's true, like with CEOs. It's just like your emotional intelligence grows when you have employees and those responsibilities and things. But it's interesting because even in families, there's a difference between being a mother and a mom, or, a dad and a father, and things of this sort. So very, very similar.
It is. And I'll just say one more thing about that. That's, I think, interesting, because I haven't really done this analogy before. When you decide to have a child and you're married and you're in love, you're like, oh, this is so romantic. We're having a baby together. And you're going to have amazing memories together. And I'm sure you have those too. But when you have a child that's screaming at the dinner table and you're exhausted, it's kind of like that. Like you love your business, and there's those moments where everyone is screaming, and you have to shift into a totally different level of leadership, for sure.
And remember that you chose this. That's one thing. I chose this. So, even that's so true. So even with that analogy, it's just like, from mother to, mom to mother, or mother to mom to father to dad. So what's the difference between being a leader and a boss?
Yeah.
So it's kind of using that analogy. So leader to boss, what's the difference there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think of a boss, it's someone that that orders people around. People talk about negative things about, oh, my boss did this, my boss did that. It's that feeling of somebody that's over them, that's managing them. And I don't really think anybody wants to be managed. And so it's not very inspiring. It's not very inspiring for the boss, and it's not very inspiring for the employee either. And it's, on the level of being a boss, it feels like this overwhelming responsibility. And when you're constantly telling people what to do, there's no inspiration happening. There's no creativity happening. And you've got to come up with all the answers. So it actually makes work so much harder. And when you shift into being a leader, which means that you are inspiring people into action, that you are running an organization based on collaboration, like what we do in Pinnacle Global Network. I really believe that we work together in growing this company and serving our clients. It's just, there's so much more room. I think of like the energy around the boss is just this vacuum. And with the leader, it's this open space. There's room for movement, creativity, ideas, inspiration, magic that happens. But to make that shift out of boss, it feels scary because it means that you actually have to let go. You have to stop looking at every single email and reviewing and being the only one that makes the major decisions in your company. And you feel like that's a scary thing to do, that things will fall apart. But actually, ironically, it's the other way around. If you keep doing that, you are choking the growth of your business. And once you can step into leadership, it's so much more fun. It's really where your gifts lie, I truly believe. And you've got a happier team all around that wants to stay on longer, that wants to be self-motivated, and that wants to bring their creative ideas to the table.
Oh, that's wow, Allison. There's some really cool distinctions that I just got right there. I'm taking notes right now too on some of the things that you're saying.
I don't remember anything I just said, so take some notes, please.
Well,
email them to me.
Well, that's actually a good indication that you live it, that you eat your own cooking, because when it just comes through, that means like we own it. That it's really there, and I truly do believe that within this organization, there's eating our own cooking, walking the talk about leadership and being a boss, and leaders are influenced, or the people will follow leaders, which has been the case for you. And I think bosses are obeyed, which you really lose some of the high quality people because they don't have that creativity. So I think that's an awesome place to start. And it sounds really easy, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh, that's great. Just kind of like, when you have a child, oh my God, we're a parent now. And then you're like, what the heck did I do? But it's really interesting, like from your experience, what are some of the places that us as leaders or, leaders that you've actually seen, where do we get stuck? Where have you seen like the majority of people getting stuck in their leadership?
Yeah, I think, and again, I'm going to keep going back to the parent situation, and it's ironically enough, today is my daughter's birthday. So
happy birthday.
33 years old. Gabriella is 33 years old. So I remember it well. And I would say, it's really fear, I think, is at the root of it. And, maybe also some ego as well. Because if you are that head honcho and you're used to running the show, you are used to getting the last word. There's something about that for maybe stroking your own confidence. I'm not really sure, but I think ultimately underneath it's fear that if we let go, our baby that we've worked so hard to help to grow, to nurture, and to be successful. And look, a lot of people, their livelihood depends on that business, and they lose that one account. They're terrified of how they're going to make payroll and, all the realistic things about it. So it doesn't make sense to let go, really, but just that's why having a mentor is so helpful, to kind of hold people's hand through the process. And this is what we do all day long with our clients all over the world that want to grow and scale their companies. We're like the mirror to say, hey, you're acting like a boss. You're exhausted because you won't let go. You're doing all the things in your business that you shouldn't be doing anymore. And, you know, like what we were talking about today in one of the meetings, that one of our clients was having an issue where two of their partners were really taking advantage of them, right? And so we really were like, hey, like, that's not okay. You know, you've got to step up into your leadership. This is your business. So I just think sometimes we're in it and we don't see it. And we get mired in habit. We are creatures of habit. And even though there's this whole brighter picture on the other side, until you actually take that leap and you start treating your employees like team members, like you're all in this together. And instead of constantly giving them the solutions on the spot and doing it for them, you let them make mistakes, you let them fall, which I know that's hard to do, but that's how they grow. That's how they get it. That's how they take ownership.
Allison, gosh, how many times I'm running through my head right now, how many times I did exactly what you're saying not to do in regards to leadership. And I just also remember how painful it was and how lonely it was, you know, to be there without really understanding. It's like, gosh, what could I do different? So, you know, with people listening to this, you know, what are like a couple of things that they can do to like fix this, like make that first move? Like, what would it take? Because fear is a big one. You know, when you're in fear, it's just like, you know, it's like, hey, this is my baby. You know, it kind of, it's so interesting. Like we're using this analogy about kids or so. And it's also very good because speaking of, you know, being a boss and making these changes, you went through labor pains 33 years ago. So you actually understand what that, you know, that pain. But then from that scaling, the beauty of what you have 33 years later is this amazing daughter of yours.
Yeah, so, and it's hard to let go with your children too. I mean, those of you listening that are parents or grandparents, like we worry about our kids. I know my mom still worries about me today. And so, but I also, you know, that your kids are their own people and they have their own gifts and they have their own path that they're on. There's so many things that, for instance, in Pinnacle, we have 17 mentors now. They're all so brilliant. They have so much wisdom. They have so much history to bring to the table. And if I'm constantly telling them exactly how to think and how to do, you know, we obviously have a method and we have a proprietary process and we customize the plans, the step-by-step plan for our clients based on where they're at. But each of our mentors brings different type of wisdom and experience to the table. And so we want them to blossom in that. That's what I believe makes the experience unique that our clients go through, because they do get this unique high level support. So, you know, I think another example comes to mind, Phil, is I was in the car with Mike one day and he was driving. I was on my phone, surprise, surprise. And Mike was taking the back roads somewhere like he always does. I wasn't paying attention. And he said, you don't even know where we are, do you? And I'm like, no, not really, but I know you're going to get us to where we're going. So why do I really need to pay attention? And I had this realization that popped in my head and was like, wow, this is exactly what happens to our employees. When we just constantly do it for them, they don't have to think, because they know that you're going to get them there. You're going to jump in, you're going to save the day. And it's unconscious. I don't think they're sitting there going, oh, I don't really want to work because they're going to do it for me. It's just an unconscious setback or set point. And so they're not really thinking for themselves. And so when I'm constantly showing an employee over and over and over how to do the same thing, and then I get frustrated because it's not done right, I really realized that it was my fault, because they don't have to think, because you're constantly telling them how to do it. It just becomes rote.
Yep. And you know, it's that becomes a new habit. So with that, going back to, it's like, so how do we fix this? Because I'm sure, we're not the only two that have ever experienced this. In fact, I'm sure there's a lot of people like leaning forward, shaking their head going, I'm feeling
Yeah.
it. So how do we fix this,
Yeah.
Allison?
Well, part of it is cutting the cord, it's cutting the cord. And here's the thing, when you think of a task that you're about to do, what I want you to do is think about what's the impact of you doing this for the long term. So in that moment, you're like, I'll just do it myself. It'll take me 10 minutes. But that's not really true, because then you're going to do it again and it's 10 minutes and again, and it's 10 minutes again and again and again. The mind's like, well, it's going to take me longer to explain it to somebody. But you explain it or you document it one time and you hand it off, you don't have to look at it again. I mean, you can have somebody hold them accountable or whatever, check it. Maybe that does need to be you. But when you hand it off and you say, you know what, this is yours, you're responsible for, this is your arena, you own it, they're either going to really step up and own it and do a great job, or you're going to find out that they don't have the capability to do that, or they need more training or something like that. Then you expand to get onto the next thing and the next thing. So I think it's constantly checking in with what you're doing and being truly honest and say, are you the one that needs to do this? Do you really need to oversee that? Do you really need to see that email that's going out?
Yeah, that's, yeah. So I think, okay, I love what you just said right there too. I think that's another thing. How can we fix this? Be honest. Take a look at it. And I remember one of my mentors, because I this is why this program I think works so well. I believe in mentors. And growing up, every single position I had, every job I had, every business I owned, there was always a mentor talking into my ear, about this. And it starts with, don't make it worse than it is. Don't make it better than it is. Just share how it truly is and your part in that. So that's actually what I'm hearing. And I heard something else, Allison, and I read in this amazing book here. Let's get it right here. This amazing book about something else. So you talk about the big picture vision. But what I'm also hearing you say between the lines is the CEO has to have a vision for the leadership, for what they want to see in the future, not just like the larger one that it shows up in the whole company, but there's also a vision that a leader has to have of how they want to lead. Yeah. And and it's, and that's, like, if I look back with Pinnacle, here we are 11 years. And when I started, it was, okay, I want to help one business owner at a time to create a better future. And then, it started to snowball, and this person told this person, person told this person. And then, we did events and it grew. And so the vision starts to expand and you're like, wow, this really works. And their lives are changing and, they're able to help so many more people. Wow, this really could be a bigger dent in the universe. And so the vision just expands. And I think since you've been with me over this 5 years, you've seen the vision continue to expand. 100%. So I think that's you absolutely, I'm constantly thinking about it, visualizing it on a daily basis. You hear me talking about it all of the time. And I think the key is that you've got to take the vision out of your head and almost like a vacuum, like let's connect a vacuum to your brain. And so that you can pull that out and then you are able to communicate that in various ways to as many people as you can. Because if you keep that vision to yourself, then, there's so many other people that could help you to bring that vision to reality. And so you're missing out. You're keeping it small if you keep it to yourself. Oh, that's good too. And there's no chance of synergy at that point if you keep it to yourself. And that's where the magic happens. You shared a couple of really great experiences. I love this, Allison, because you have life experiences that you bring to the company that you share, and there's a level of transparency that is refreshing to see, because it's very honest, it's very open. Can you share a moment from your experience when you realized how important great leadership was?
Oh my gosh, so many. Well, let's see. How about the time when I was on stage? Were you in the audience when the stage fell?
Oh, yes.
So I'm up on stage and we have hundreds of people in the audience, live in person. This one we did in-person events. And you work so hard to put these events together. We had the whole stage set and I had worked on my intro over and over. And I walk out, I'm giving my intro, and I see out of the corner of my eye part of the wall falling down on the backdrop of the set. And I look ahead at our AV guy and I just see him saying under his breath, like some expletives, right? Like I'm thinking this is not good. And I'm seeing all the faces of the audience, everyone's eyes opening up and their mouth dropping. And in that moment, I knew it was my job to hold the energy. Like I wasn't gonna, if the stage was gonna fall, let it fall. But we're gonna hold the energy of the room. And I didn't plan this, trust me. I never rehearsed it or even thought about what I was going to do, but I had the vision and I was holding the vision and I was so intent on that in that moment. So I said, life is going to fall down around you. It's how you show up. So I don't want you to be looking behind me. I want you to look right at me. I want you to hear what I have to say. And I think that actually the funny thing is it brought people together more closely during the event. There was a higher level of trust that people really got, the fact that I was there fully and I wasn't freaking out because the set was falling apart. And not that I'm going to tell the universe now, I really don't want that happening again. So, that's one. The other I would say is COVID, when that hit, where we, I think what the thought in my mind was, these business owners that we're mentoring, they are not going down on our watch. They're not going down on our watch. And that was really the energy we brought to the table. And so we pivoted so fast going virtual with all of our events. But I think the big thing was, it was like, what do we need to do to help our clients pivot, create new revenue streams, get them digital overnight? Because we have a lot of clients that are brick and mortar and staffing companies and, people that were definitely face to face. And it happened so fast. And again, I believe it was just holding that vision and communicating that vision. And then you guys just took it and ran with it. It's not like I really had to ask, like, please help these people. That's not, you guys just said, all right, we're here. What are we going to do to help? And I truly believe if it hadn't been for Pinnacle, that many of these businesses would not have made it, because they're absolutely brilliant, but a lot of them, it was just it was very scary, and they were spinning until we said, all right, we've got you, you've got this, and we're gonna support you through it. To me, that's leadership.
Allison, I think 100% you're correct, because here's a litmus test to that. Of the Pinnacle, the people who are the CEOs who are in Pinnacle, the success rate of making it through COVID was great. And we've all walked down main streets and just saw out of business, out of business, out of business, out of business. And how we know it worked was because our clients are still here and they're creating revenue. And some actually blossom because of the pivoting. And to your, I'm going to point out the obvious, because that's what I get paid to do sometimes, is you use the word we pivoted. The only way that we can pivot is if the leader is willing to stand in the front and lead the charge. And so the reason you had all these people pivoting with you is because, once again, eating our own cooking, you pivoted. And this was a live, Pinnacle Global Network was a live event company, live events. That's how the revenues were made. Pinnacle Global Network is now a global entity because of the pivot, and the success of that too. So, once again, the experience, I'm going to go a little bit deeper too from a different viewpoint. So as I'm interviewing you, I'm kind of sprinkling in some of the things that I see in regards to real life leadership coming from the leader of the company talking about leadership, which I think was awesome. So, I had two other questions if we have time for it right now, Allison.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
okay.
Honestly, Phil, because it's interesting when you talk about leadership, because I don't know the perspective from your end being on the team. And you've worked with other companies too. And
Absolutely.
we're talking, so those that are listening and they're wanting to step up in their leadership, or they want to find out how to motivate their team or how to take their business to the next level. Is there anything, I'm turning this around, is there anything that you're seeing that, okay, we've done in this company, or I've done, because I don't know, there's some things that you do, you don't even realize you're doing that would make it easier for them?
There's, okay, Allison, fair question. That was good. All of a sudden now I'm sitting there going, wait a sec. It was easier to go in the other direction. A couple of things. One is you hire the best and get out of their way and let them do their job, which was like, and not just get out of their way, support them in being able to do exactly why you hired someone to do. So it's the expectation of you're going to be brilliant, because we've gone through so many individuals looking for those individuals. And now that we have brilliance, we're going to allow you to do what you do best, I think is number one. Number two is the culture that gets created, and really having a company through your values and the mission of the company, which has been another sign of success. And I work with Fortune 500 like companies on the leadership side, and I'd love to have an organization come in and see exactly how this company is run by this. So here's another thing, Allison, I think this is key. You believe in mentors, because since I've known you, I've never seen you without who is on your advisory board. Who are your mentors? Who are you listening to, and being smart enough to listen to them, weigh the information, and then make decisions quickly.
Yeah.
And so all of this plays right into it, and into great leadership. And humility is the other thing that I would say really drives the organization. Is there's a level of transparency. So the example you gave with the stage falling down, not halfway through the event, but if anyone's been to events or have done events, that first about half an hour is adrenaline. You want to make sure everything's right. It's like a first date. You want to make that first impression, and instead you fumble and trip over your dress, or rip your pants right in front of the person that you're trying to impress. And the key is, can you hold your composure and have it be a situation where it actually adds to the experience and has them come closer to you because of your honesty? Or does it back away because you're trying to make excuses why something didn't work? So, I love the phrase, we'd rather, don't worry, be crappy.
Yeah.
And that would work, because what you showed there was, even when everything's falling apart, I'm very crystal clear on where we're going this weekend, and we're going to take you there. So, I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes,
since it was impromptu, but that's actually where I see a lot of the magic in companies. And it's not just with Pinnacle, it's with some of the other companies that we mentor. When we see the CEO stepping up in that same way and leading from a place of connection, compassion, drive,
oh my gosh,
it changes the culture. Yeah. It changes who wants to work for you. Here's the other thing too. Are people knocking on your door to work with you, or are they just, you have to go out and it's hard to find good hires?
Yeah.
That's a good indication.
Yeah. I mean, I think of people like Kristen, who we both know, and she said her employees didn't really like her before. Now they are giving her leadership awards, and she's just got the best team ever. And she's able to travel, and they take care of things, and she doesn't have to worry about it. So yeah, it is, it's just so much more fun when you can step into leadership. I think this idea of leader, a lot of people look at that sort of analogy of this leader going to battle, and it's just, they have to be they impenetrable and all of that. And I think being a leader is about just your humanness.
Yeah. Great point, Allison. So with all the CEOs that are listening, the people that are listening that really do want to scale their business, what advice could you give them that they could do now in this moment in time to be better leaders for their teams? Since we're talking about our teams, what could they do now to be a better leader?
Yeah. Well, first of all, just to know that even if you have been doing in a certain way for 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years, every day is a new day to step up in leadership. And what does leadership mean? It means to step up into the highest version of ourselves. I think we need to always be learning and growing. If you're not, you're dying. And if you're not stepping up, then you're not inspiring your team to step up. So I think it would just be, like we said or a bit ago, looking in the mirror saying, who do I want to be in this lifetime? At the end of my life, when I'm looking back, what do you want people to say about you? What do you want for your legacy? And then get the support, work with a company like Pinnacle Global. Well, wait a minute. There is no other company like Pinnacle Global Network. So
thank you.
Yeah. So check out Pinnacle Global Network. And if you've been in business for a good period of time and you've got employees and you're ready to say, you know what, we've been at this level for a long time. I know we have so much more. Get the support, because, hey, that's what I've done. That's what Phil has done. I'm not here to say I have all the answers. I know I'm a pretty smart cookie, but I don't want to be on this road trying to figure this out alone, right? So having that board of advisors around you to bounce off ideas, to help you make decisions, to help you build that strategic plan, to help you get back on track when you lose your way, and to help you to really figure out the right strategies that are going to multiply your growth in a fraction of the time, then that's exactly what we do. Wouldn't you say, Phil?
Allison, I couldn't have said it any better. And we could continue this conversation on leadership for hours, and I would love to. And I was about to say, and I'd love to have you come back so I can interview you more. Even though
you just take over the show. I think I'm going to delegate. It's yours, and I'm off to Mexico.
There you go. I think we should do the show from Mexico. I think that is actually a really great show. And I just want to say, Allison, thank you for your openness, your transparency in regards to talking about leadership. You were definitely a leader that leads from the front, but also supports from behind, and holds the context of what true leadership is. And it's easy for people to write books on leadership. It's easy for people to talk about leadership. But when we have a situation like COVID or life experiences, and when someone rises up as you do, that's true leadership, and is willing to show all sides. So Allison, I want to thank you for this interview. I think it was amazing. Please check out Pinnacle Global Network, because there is no other company like Pinnacle Global Network. And I will attest to that one right there. So Allison, thank you.
This has been awesome. Thanks, Phil, for being here and helping me to host the show. This has been so fun. I love hanging out with you. And you can find out about us at pinnacleglobalnetwork.com and reach out to us, and you can talk to one of our expert strategists and get your questions answered. We are always leading big events. We have big events that are on the horizon. If you want to see what we've got going on, check out our website, go to the events tab, and you will be able to experience one of our 3-day events or one of our VIP days. And then besides that, just keep coming back to the show, subscribe to the Scale or Fail show. And if you've liked this, definitely write a review. And until next time, get out there and elevate yourself, because you are worth it. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. I may get back to my reading.
Okay.
And now.
Sorry for disturbing you, Phil. See you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
If you enjoyed this talk today about leadership, about mindset, about scaling, how about checking out the episode with John Assaraf as we talk about the brain and how to break through our own limiting beliefs? It's an amazing episode with John Assaraf over there. I'll see ya. I'll be right there.
Projecting that into the future and feeling that in the present moment. Now, most people don't have any clue that they have emotions. You can manage your emotions. You can release your emotions through raising your level of awareness and knowledge and skill versus being a victim of fear.